So after the second Gulf of Tonkin incident, when Lyndon Johnson goes to Congress, they essentially give him what's known as carte blanche, or like basically a blank check to conduct war in the North, or I should say against the North. And I mean, essentially what we have in Vietnam is a war that's never declared war. Of course, only Congress can declare war, and they never declare war against the North Vietnamese, but that's what we get. In retrospect, that second incident that caused all this, the second Gulf of Tonkin incident, is pretty much generally agreed upon as having been fabricated. They call it like a false flag operation. The specifics of it are still a little bit cloudy as far as who gave the orders to do what, but it does appear that the incident never actually happened. But it did give Johnson an excuse to go to Congress and ask for more troops, more money for Vietnam, and that's what he's going to get. Okay. So this is seen as a key spark of the war, and one of the things that can be seen as a cause of U.S. involvement in Vietnam. So, in the wake of this, LBJ initiates what's called Operation Rolling Thunder, and that is a sustained bombing of the North. Again, the idea is to weaken the North, to undermine the government of Ho Chi Minh, and to keep communism in the North from spreading into the South. At the same time, we escalate the number of troops that we have in country. By June of 1965, there are 50,000 American troops in Vietnam. Again, keep in mind, this is a war that's never been declared by Congress, so this is a pretty remarkable number of forces to be there. And also, the United States is acting unilaterally here or by themselves, whereas in the Korean conflict, we were acting as a part of a United Nations force. So there was generally more support for this across the world in Korea than there is in Vietnam. So early on, the majority of Americans are really in support of the war. I think that when we picture Vietnam, we picture like a lot of those protests that happened later on. But initially people were all for the idea of containing communism and from keeping communism from spreading to the South as well as to the neighboring countries under the domino theory. Key leaders for the United States include Robert McNamara, who was the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary of State at this time was a man named Dean Rusk, and the head U.S. military commander in Vietnam was a guy named General William Westmoreland. Okay, so Westmoreland pretty quickly judges that the South Vietnamese Army, the ARVN or ARVN, and that means the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. So remember, these are the non-communist troops. Westmoreland quickly assesses that these guys are incompetent. And there has been a lot of infiltration of the South Vietnamese army by Viet Cong spies. I mean, there's a lot of nepotism in the army, which means that jobs are given based not on skill but on family connections. So a lot of the people in charge are not very qualified. Westmoreland believes that without U.S. troops, the South will fall pretty rapidly based on the incompetence of their forces. It's not to say that some of these people didn't fight bravely and skillfully, but overall, he judged it as being not able to defeat the North. So with that in mind, LBJ and Westmoreland are going to stage a massive troop buildup. And, if you look at the numbers here, by 1967, we have 10 times the amount of Americans on the ground that we had only in 1965. So, again, that's a huge difference in terms of troop buildup. The thought is that through superior weapons, through superior technology, and through superior firepower, as well as overwhelming number of troops, that the United States and the South can win pretty quickly and defeat the North. Of course, as you guys know, that is not exactly the case. And by 1968, we have a turning point in the war, and a lot of Americans start to disagree with the policies of the war. And then there's major controversy there. So the rest of the day today, be sure to log into Classroom on the Chromebooks, get the review done. Probably take you pretty much the rest of the class. Do a good job on that. We got to start reviewing not only for the next DFA, but also for the final that we'll have, and it'll be here before you guys know it, so you need to get ready. Keep my Chrome cart looking good, and you guys didn't do such a great job yesterday. I want those things plugged back into the right spots. If we can't do it right, then we can't use them, so take care of it today. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Study up tonight, look at your notes, and a quiz is definitely a possibility. So be good. Happy Tuesday.